Hey folks, we're getting back to the stream earlier, at least in my time zone. It's like 9:20 in the morning here. I had been getting into a pattern of doing errands and other work in the morning and then streaming in the afternoon, but let's see if we can reverse it today. There's a pretty great view of Tuco and the cloud cat over in the corner. They've been getting along all right. As you can see right now, they're all in the same frame and not even fighting, which is pretty cool. But I'm gonna look forward to having it just be Tuco and I again. Currently the plan is for the two foster cats to go to their next home this weekend. So this little fuzzy guy on the table is my cat Tuco. The one in the back there is Cloud. And then the other one that was in the bottom left was Luna. They're all having an alright time right now. Anyway, and so as far as the stream goes, we were working on adding this kind of camera input plus overlay system to the robot. So, yeah, Vince says they'll miss Luna. Yeah, I'll kind of miss Luna too. She's really sweet. Oh. Cloud just brought me a bolt. I don't know that that's actually happened before. He just brought me this black PLA bolt. Tuco only seems to like the white nylon bolts, but, hey Cloud, do you want this? Oh my gosh, he really does. Of course these cats would start getting along like the last week they're gonna be here, right? But yeah, it's been alright having 3 cats, but also kind of a huge hellish pit of pain. I mean, of course it's getting better now that the cats are no longer recovering from surgery. They still don't get along very well though, and it's just like sometimes it's okay, and sometimes they're just getting into fights all the time. So, anyway, yeah, Tuco hype, I agree. Soon we'll have more Tuco. Anyway, yeah, and so I'm adding this OBS plugin, which, oh wow, he is just playing with that black bolt over there. Good job, Cloud. Man, Cloud, I should show you this video that I took of Cloud the other day while we're having a cat moment here. Let me get this on the screen. Tuco is just chilling out and overseeing the whole situation. Oh, here it is. Is this the right channel? Is any of this the right channel? Oh yeah. So this is a cropped bit of security camera footage from my shop. You can see, well, the edge of the camera didn't go any higher, so I couldn't actually get this in frame, but there's a window just barely off the top of the frame here. And this is the arcade cabinet that was under the window. I just recently swapped the arcade cabinet and the crate next to it. But play this. So you can see the little dark blob in the corner, or on the side, that's Cloud on that side. And then he's just surveying the situation. He's doing all right. And then he's like, oh, I wonder what's up there. I think he was looking out the window, right? He's like, what's out the window? You see his eye is just shining because the security camera is in IR and it has an illuminator in it. Aww. Alistair says Tuco's flying above the clouds. Yeah. Okay, so then he's on the thing, and he starts to go up there like, oh, what's out there? Oh, and then he jumps, and like, I am terrified right now. I'm like running over there trying to get him, and by the time I get over there, he's already like starting to fall out the window. You can see his legs kind of horizontally there. And then that was just super terrifying. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Cloud's ability to keep himself alive in this shop at this point. He already broke his leg. I don't even know how. I couldn't figure out how he broke his leg. It wasn't on any of the cameras. But yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, super stressful. And so that was that was this past Sunday. And so it's about 5 weeks since Cloud's leg surgery, or I guess about 6 or 7 weeks since he actually broke his leg at this point. Cloud is really into this. He's under my desk now. Wow. This is how to tire him out. Just give him a bolt. Tuco is just surveying the situation. Actually, all the cats seem really interested because right before I started the stream, I rearranged some furniture here. And so I think Tuco and the other cats are just trying to discover what kind of weirdness I've uncovered. Oh, nice. Ulysses on YouTube chat says that they're finally free when I'm streaming. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's nice to say hi. Yeah, I try to do the streams at a variety of different times so that the serendipity can work out. And it's nice to see you on Gitter chat too. This project is truly over-engineered to the point where it's truly awesome. Congrats. Yeah, that's weird because like, I mean, I guess I get that, but I also feel like I don't know. It feels like the right amount of engineering to me, but it certainly is complicated. I think it's over-engineered compared to what a lot of people would want to build for their cat, but this is pretty much exactly what I wanted to build. It just involves a lot of pieces. The pieces are what I like. I mean, I like the journey. Let's see if I can get this back on the computer screen. All right, Duke, little window. So this is where we ended up last time. This is pretty much right where I left it last night. We've got the OBS plugin. Here's the Rust server, which isn't currently running, but if I hit cargo run, it'll run again. I guess I could turn on the robot. So when I do cargo run, the Rust server, which runs like everything the bot does pretty much, it's like the brains of the bot, it'll start running. It'll print out information about its connection. So that's this HTTP URI. This is not directly what we connect to, but we use this to figure out how to connect to the bot server. This URL directly will give you the web interface, but it's kind of like this URL gives you a JavaScript package which implements a client for this protocol, but we're implementing a client for that same protocol in C++ instead of JavaScript. So this is kind of an implementation of the same stuff that goes on inside the web service, or inside the client that actually runs in the browser here. So we'll be taking this URL from the connection file here. So the OBS plugin actually just gets a path. That seemed to be the easiest way to configure this all. Let's actually just run this. It's also interesting thinking about this as like over-engineered because like most things just take a lot of work to build. Like if you look at a product, you know, if you look at like your tablet or your camera gimbal or, you know, your fancy IoT smoke alarm or like any of these things that you buy that have a lot of things that they're responsible for doing, there's just so many layers of engineering that goes into them. And so I feel like some of what I'm trying to do here is not like over-engineer something so much as try to engineer something well in the way that seems like it works for this particular project and for what I want out of it, and then to share that. That's kind of my plan. Cloud is still tromping around over here. Well, they said, I mean, it could have been 4 winches, a camera, and an Xbox controller. That's what it is, though. Like, it's just that when you open up any of those components, they're complicated. Like, the winches themselves are complicated. To make the winch itself simpler, like, would not be that obvious to me. I would have to give up some of the sensors that I need for safety, or it would have just completely the wrong characteristics. I would end up making the winch itself simpler, maybe, but then making the rest of the problem more complicated. So, I mean, maybe it's clear to other people that I'm just like completely over-engineering this thing and there's a obvious simple answer that I'm missing. But from my perspective, I don't see a significantly simpler way of achieving the same fidelity results that I want here. And that's what leads this to where it is. I'm not just like throwing stuff together because I can for the most part. It's because I want something out of the end result. I mean, there are some things I threw on there just because I had them, like the LiDAR sensors. I don't know that I would have gone with like 4 LiDAR sensors unless I just already had those lying around. But it does actually turn out to be an alright solution to the problem. Anyway, here's the plugin. You can see right now it's getting the same video feed as the little embed there. If we go to fly our camera, it's got a... Well, so this input source itself is just a Blackmagic capture card. But then, if you go to filters, it's got this flyer camera filter on top of it. And in there, we have a path for the controller connection.txt file and a path for the overlay.png file, which we should go ahead and find that. So that'll actually be in bot controller also. So both of these files are, this really defines the interface between the plugin and the server. The server gives us connection information through the text file, and it gives us graphical assets in the form of this overlay PNG file. Oh, cool. I'm glad the AI and image recognition and detection has been helpful too. I mean, I'm not an expert at this stuff either. I've like tinkered with computer vision on and off for a bunch of years, but I'm learning a lot about this too. Anyway, we can see over here, I don't know what this thread was, but this message is coming from our WebSocket thread. It says debug frontend URI equals, and this is the first line that it read out of the text file. Normally, we wouldn't really want to just like spam this all over the place because this does have a secret key in it. It's not that secret because this key is only useful within the local network here, but this is still the authentication token that lets you write to the robot. So then from that, we're parsing out this WebSocket endpoint, which is just based on taking the same URL and replacing the resource on here with /ws. And then we have the key, which I ended up extracting using a regex. I would have thought that there would be some query parameter parsing thing built into one of the libraries we're already using. Nothing that really works, though. Looked at a couple other little standalone query parsing things, but they didn't support the use case that we actually need, where we're parsing parameters out of the fragment part of the URL. So I ended up just making a regular expression with a bunch of trial and error that actually matches that. The part that was tricky was getting it to match the key equals value pair that starts with k equals, but not any other key value pairs in that list, because it's a list of key value pairs. So Dean says maybe at some point we can segue into segues on self-balancing robots. Actually, that would be fun. I've already got this. I picked up one of those hoverboard scooters a while ago when I thought I found a good deal on one, and it was kind of fun. I broke my butt on it a couple times, and now it's kind of in this state where the mechanical parts are starting to die, and I wouldn't really want to use it, you know, where my butt's on the line quite so much, but making a robot out of it sounds like pretty much the perfect use. So making a self-balancing robot by... So actually, I've already taken that thing apart and looked at the debug interface on it, of course. The first time I took it apart was because it had these awful red, green, blue flashing LEDs on it that I needed to just unplug before I could even use it at all. But yeah, I actually tried connecting. There's this project I made a while ago that was it was an ESP8266 serial wire debug client. So you could attach this thing to a microcontroller, then you could issue HTTP requests that would end up reading and writing memory on the microcontroller. So I attached this thing to the hoverboard, and then I was just trying to see if I could like use the iPad to hex edit the memory while it was running. And I started down that route, discovered that it would actually be really easy to do, and then discovered that, well, actually this has no built-in safety features, and the motor controller is implemented on that same micro. So before experimenting around with that kind of thing, I'd probably want to have it on a big old current limited power supply, because it seems pretty easy to get the motor controller into an unhappy state by tweaking the memory. So yeah, that might be fun. Oh, Morgan's talking about controlling a bunch of LEDs using a chain of max 6971s. Or 5971s. It's been a while since I've taken that approach now that we have these strips of addressable LEDs. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of the slightly more common approach before the individual addressable LEDs became common, right? Is you have one chip that's shared between like 16 or 32 LEDs, and that fixes the economy problem. Otherwise, the controllers are just too expensive per pixel. Okay, so this is most of what we want. I think the next step here is actually to retrieve this URL, the /ws. I was hoping, oh, hey, Took. Cloud. I was hoping there'd be a nicer way to do this asynchronously using some of the ASIO HTTP stuff, because we have an asynchronous WebSocket library, right? Part of the asynchronous WebSocket client is an asynchronous HTTP client that makes the initial connection and then gets the connection upgraded. So that exists, it's just not really in a state where we can use it easily. It's there is a class we can use to like assemble an HTTP request, and then we can send that over a socket, but we still have to like parse the response headers and stuff like that, and it just seems like not the level of abstraction we really want to be dealing with. So instead, it turns out that OBS is already depending on libcurl for its, it looks like it's for retrieving updated lists of streaming ingest servers for Twitch and YouTube and whatever. So it's already depending on libcurl. We've got that in our build, and it seems to be building. So now we just need to write some code to use libcurl, to use libcurl to retrieve this URL. So that's kind of the UR here. Oh, for the rest of the UR here, I should point folks to the Git repo if they're not familiar already. If you go to github/tukoflyer, that will be the index for everything we've been working on in this project. So there's the very minimal fork of OBS that just has the added plugin. There's the plugin itself. Or that's the fork of OBS, that's the plugin. That's the Rust software that controls the bot. You can see the languages are actually useful now. This is actually a C++ project, and this is actually Rust, and that's mostly C. The bot firmware is pretty much all C. It doesn't recognize the CAD software that these are done in. So yeah, bot controller, tukoflyer. And this is the debug print we were just looking at. This is the regex I came up with last time to match that parameter. Okay, so I think it's just time to, maybe I'll make a very thin curl wrapper just to do like an HTTP GET with all the defaults, but then just I'll be using the curl simple API probably. Unless the curl simple API is already simple enough that I don't need to wrap it again, but let's see. Oh, do you only need to set the URL option? Or are there other options? Yeah, maybe I don't need to wrap it at all. Headers. Shut off the progress meter. Yeah? Or is that only if verbose? Just, I'm momentarily concerned about whether this is going to spam standard error or standard out, or whether this just has to do with the progress function. Oh, is this default to 1? Oh, it does. Great. Yeah, okay, maybe we just need to set the URL and call curl easy perform. That's curl easy set opt, curl opt URL. Oh man, the smoke here from the fires up in the North Bay has been pretty bad. But I saw a tweet from the, I guess it was from the police department up there in Sonoma, that the fires are contained. I'd feel more secure about that if the tweet was coming from the fire department, because why does the police department tweet about that? But yeah, that seems to be good news if it's true. Yeah, SPI isn't really much of a standard. SPI is just like, you're doing synchronous serial over a couple of wires, right? We'll just call that SPI regardless of how it actually works. Thread curl. And that was curl opt URL. And is this just a C string that it copies? I assume it's copied. I assume if it wasn't copied, they would probably have a warning about the pointer needing to be valid for a while. So, why isn't it const? Man, this is why I like Rust. Rust forces you to make all these decisions that in C and C++ it's so easy to be lazy about and then make it the next person's problem. Oh. I do need to make that a string. Yeah, I should split this function up. This is annoyingly long. Where's the header file friend for this one? Maybe I could just turn this into a couple of getters, like get HTTP frontend URI, WebSocket endpoint, fragment. This is the particular trade-off that I'm so often making in programming, but especially in C++, where I conceptually would like to split these things apart, but then the annoyance of like exposing types outside the file is kind of frustrating. I could actually make some of this like static functions in the file that aren't exposed elsewhere. But I think I'd rather just put them in here. Hey. Maybe that's what I want. Maybe that's what I want. So one function to read the front-end URI from the file, then I can turn that into a WebSocket URI. This will actually do the curl request, and then the parsing, which will be the regex thing. I think that'll help. Hey, cats. Seriously, chill out. Oh yeah, so Robert is asking about curl and WebSockets. Yeah, I'm not using curl for WebSockets. I have a separate WebSockets UI, or API. I just also need an HTTP client because there's an HTTP endpoint that tells you where the WebSocket URI is. So that's pretty much it. There might be other things in the JSON blob later, but right now it just has the WebSocket URL. It's sort of like, you can think of it as bootstrapping the configuration of this part of the project. And like the alternative would be maybe like hard code the port and the protocol, but I would rather have a pointer from here to there, which is what this is. That should be fine. So we're reading it into a stack buffer. We're copying the stack buffer into a WebSocket PP URI and then returning that by value. Also, this is bugging me a little. Oh yeah, this needs a way to fail, doesn't it? Oh man, also, I I'm getting so spoiled by Rust, assuming that references are constant by default. That's not how C++ works. I think it's okay for this to return an empty authentication key, because that'll just cause authentication to fail, which is exactly what we want. There's no need to distinguish an empty auth key from no auth key, but I don't really have a good... Like, I think this will make the error path cleaner inside Reconnect Handler. This also gets the async reconnect logic out of all these little nooks and crannies, which is nice. That's where I'm chaining on to the next retry of the connect, which I really shouldn't let that spread. Maddie Winder asks, have I tried Qt Creator? It has a bunch of nice refactoring functions that make working with C++ a lot less annoying. I don't really like IDEs that change things for me. I don't really find that those work well with my workflow. The closest tool that I found that I actually do like is all the multiple cursor search and replace stuff inside Sublime Text. But generally, I really, really don't like IDEs. I like text editors that have features, but if the editor is too closely integrated with the language environment, I just don't tend to like it. I mean, there are probably a bunch of reasons for that, but maybe the biggest one is that I would end up having to change tools so often that I'd rather just pick a text editor that I like and then bolt all the other tools I want on the side by calling them directly. And I know you can do that with a lot of IDEs. I just haven't found an IDE that I like well enough that I'd want to do that with it. Qt's all right, but I don't like Qt style well enough to do all of my C++ development in Qt's IDE. Does this have a default constructor? Please tell me this has a default constructor. Does it not have a default constructor? That's annoying. Geez, do I have to make this a pointer? Do I have to dynamically allocate this thing just so that I can have it exist and not be filled in yet? Maybe this is not the data type I want to be returning. Maybe I use this class just to parse the URLs, and otherwise I just keep them in strings. Ugh. What I'm looking for is a constructor that takes no arguments and sets valid to false. And that doesn't seem to exist. Okay, another slight change here. So I could have these return an empty string for fail. Or any invalid URL, really, which an empty string qualifies as. This does take a const string, doesn't it? They didn't mess up that badly, right? Yes. Okay. Oh, string. Okay, the const actually probably should go over there, huh? Okay, this takes the same input type. Okay, let's try this one. See if that gets us farther. If you didn't quite catch why I just got stuck there, it's because of this line here. This will not compile because I can't actually create a URI without passing parameters to its constructor. So I can't make an empty one and then fill it in down here. That would require a default constructor and a copy constructor, which it would be totally reasonable for this data type to have. It just doesn't. That's okay, we can work around it. That's like our happy little trees. It's like, oh, it's okay, we can work around this. Happy little trees. This might look a little cleaner if we did it with IOStreams style, honestly, but I think it's fine the way it is. And then request WebSocket URI. Let's do parse frontend auth key. That actually stays with the curl stuff. I know this just looks like an assignment, but this is actually copying the string into a buffer. It's find that actually in the reference here. See, this is what we're using. It's the copy constructor from a C string. So we're making a copy of that data, updating the string, and returning that by value. I like this slightly better. All right, parse front-end auth key. All right, now this stuff goes in that request WebSocket URI. I want to actually have a place to store that string so that when I get a C string pointer, there's a lifetime associated with that memory. If I just call str and then .cstring right away, then I'm throwing away the object that that memory refers to, which is not so good. The compiler might be smart enough to know that that temporary needs to have a longer lifetime, but I don't know the spec well enough nor trust the compiler well enough to do it that way. But doing it this way, that should be fine. Oh, this can go up here too. Curl code. Hey Cloud, what are you doing? Don't chew on monofilament. Oh God. Oh, error buffer. Okay. I guess we should store this with the thread data. I guess there's probably no reason to set that way up here. No reason not to, though. I mean, we don't need to set that each time. Meh. Part of me wants to keep all the curl options together, even if this one doesn't need to be reset each time. I kind of like the new spacing, though. Let's keep that. I do want this buffer to have that longer lifetime, though. Like, if this was on the stack, I don't think we'd be guaranteed that curl would stop using it after we return. Ha! Corey is surprised that C++ doesn't come with a standard HTTP library. I am not. Look at how long it's taken C++ to standardize really basic stuff. It's not an easy ecosystem to standardize high-level functionality in. I think I must be missing some context. Yeah, another vote for Sublime Text plus Terminal. And then one vote for CodeLight, and then a vote for using Qt to bind with CMake and CLion. I don't know what CLion is. And then Physics says Bob Ross, the original ASMR. Yeah, I think so. Oh, what was the OK code again? Curl E-OK. Curly. This is checking to see if there's data in the buffer. And then if there's not data in the buffer, using curl easy store error. This is checking to see whether the buffer ends with a new line. They're not really giving us a lot of hints about how regular this buffer is going to be. Excuse me. Oh yeah, and in Rust, as Robert's saying, in Rust, the standard library, the idea is to have it actually be pretty small, and they've been going in the direction of trying to even take stuff out of the standard library if they can. So yeah, I like languages that have you know, an opinionated enough distribution system that you can easily integrate software together. Like, that's I think, I mean, like, Cargo isn't perfect, obviously, but having one system that works for the vast majority of Rust programs just makes it so much easier to use other people's libraries with your code, and that's something that C++ has never really had. Corey asks if there are official libraries to import with Cargo. I mean, it's like there are libraries made by people with varying levels of affiliation with the rest of the Rust community, but there isn't really like a list of blessed projects, if that's what you're asking. Which is good and bad. Like, I think they could certainly do more to have maybe some lists of projects that you might want to get familiar with if you're new to Rust. But I think it also helps the ecosystem be kind of flexible, and you don't end up with this entrenched group of people that have all the power in deciding how the language evolves. It's a little bit easier for people to add their own ideas. So that's been my impression. Maddie says we use the Qt library with CMake. Works pretty okay. It's not very well documented. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Qt and CMake. Like, I mean, I'm using Qt and CMake in this project also. I mean, just not for everything. Just only for parts of it. Like, the Qt stuff is for the UI, but I don't really want to depend on that outside the UI because the UI is optional. CMake is how I do the build, but that doesn't really have any bearing on the development tools that I find useful. I think that's what I want to do. So this will check to see if there's anything in thread curl error buff. For example, if the first byte... Oh, we should clear that up here. Yeah, let's clear the error buffer. I mean, let's just... Okay, so if anything got appended to the error buffer, we'll use that. Otherwise, we use stir error, which just looks up an error code. Okay. And... how do we actually get the response from this? Actually, I am going to need to do a little more work to parse the JSON, so let's keep this processing the error and then moving on. Okay, so down here, I want to get the results. So we can do I/O callbacks. Is there a way to just have it read everything into an in-memory buffer? Is that the default? What is the default? Is it by default just going to write it to a local file? Okay, this verifies that the strings are copied during easy set opt. Okay, so default is standard out, but we probably want a writer function here. Now I'm just looking to see if there's a default. So obviously, just using what's already been on the screen, we can set a callback, get called for every block of data that comes in, and then deal with it. I just wanted to see if there's already something that just stores it in a memory buffer, because that's what we want in this particular case. Corey and Robert are a fan of Go's approach with a big standard library. I've never really done much with Go. Python is also like that, where it has a really big, stable standard library. And that was really nice when Python, I think, was a newer language. At this point, I'm feeling like Python standard library feels a little more ossified, and I don't as often just get excited by the new stuff that shows up in there, whereas and like with Python, I feel like I'm more interested in like having a good ecosystem with pip than I am in the standard library. I think that's probably how I would get about any language that tried to solve all the problems with a built-in standard library. And then if it has a good ecosystem like pip or cargo, then the standard library is just less useful. Like, it's just so easy to add dependencies with cargo that I just don't really mind at all, and it doesn't really matter so much whether something's part of the standard library or not. Oh, Luna's like right in my lap, and it's really sweet. I don't know if I can get it on camera. This is nice. Luna's a nice cat. I'll certainly miss her. See, this is something Tuco usually wouldn't do. Yeah, this is a good cat. Oh, a sharp cat loaf. She's got her tail flailing back and forth too. You just can't quite see it. Oh, how do I adjust the exposure? I don't know if I can do this without seeing the back of the camera. Oh, there we go. Gotta crank it up a couple of stops for the black fur to really pop. Cat break. All right. I think I just have to give this thing a read callback. That's fine. So curl opt write data, curl opt write function. The function gets called, the data gets passed to the function. Ow! Yeah, I don't like, I've said I don't really know much about Go, but from what I've seen of like cargo and npm, like there are sometimes shortcuts for adding packages from GitHub, but they support just any old Git repository, just anything with URL. Oh, this cat's really into it. Girl, I'm not used to you being so affectionate. The marshmallow cat, Cloud, he was kind of affectionate last night too. I was just like in bed, and usually it's Tuco who tries to crawl into bed with me, but this time Cloud was hanging out, like curled up next to my legs. It was really cute. Oh, that's some sharpness. Hey girl, are you trying? Oh, jeez, okay. Yeah, Morgan says the temp cats must know they're on the docket for going home. That's the only explanation, right? Hey girl, this is great, but could you dig into my leg less? Ow! Okay, that worked. Oops. Oh, girl, you just changed channels. All right. Oh, cats. All right, so we need these two. Here's the function signature. I think we want to make this a static method. Maybe we can just make those bare functions in this CPP file. Because this doesn't really have any bearing on the rest of bot connector. That internal struct, I think, should be a pointer to a std string. It's actually kind of tempting to use a nested function for this, just to restrict the scope. I could even use a lambda, right? Let me give curl a pointer to this result. And I want to make sure to end these as soon as curl easy perform is called, because these are going to go out of scope. Let's write data and write function. I think that's a little cleaner. I think they would both work, but void star, okay. This is literally a write callback, isn't it? So I'm going to have to multiply these two. I always used to worry about overflow in cases like that. Like, you work on enough graphics code and care about security, and multiplication overflow will just haunt your dreams. I need to look up the easy way to append some, like a pointer and length to the end of a std string. I think this will work if I have something with an iterator. Hey, Cloud. Oh yeah, S and N. That might be it. Hey, Cloud. Big old fuzzy tail. Gonna knock over my coffee. Come back here, Cloud. You're out of frame. Okay. Hi, other cat. Luna's back. Okay, so string pointer and then number, yeah. I think I want something like that. This whole blob right here. Isn't it great how squishing it together makes it look cleaner sometimes? I don't know, at least to me I like the paragraphs to have some conceptual cohesion to them. Okay. Let's see how far this gets us. So we're not actually done yet, but I'm going to return the raw JSON as if that's the URL we're interested in. This could also potentially have a maximum size limit if we cared a little bit more about reliability here in the face of potentially buggy or malicious servers. But that's not really an issue for us. Let's go up here. All right. Read connection front-end URI. Parse front-end auth key. Yes. I also really miss sometimes the debug formatters built into Rust. Those are super nice. I mean, maybe built in is the wrong word, but they're built in enough. The standard library, I don't know. I like a lot of the abstraction layer decisions that they decide for parts of Rust. Can we compile this? Maddie says, stop procrastinating. What am I procrastinating? Am I forgetting how C++ lambdas work? Oh, yeah. Captures parameters, then the body. Okay, I don't want to capture anything. Yeah, I forgot to return the size t. Oops. Oh man, I keep I keep having to go back in the chat to find all the giant comments. What? There's no reason for this to be const, right? You're not telling it to be const. Why would it be const? I'm not sure why you're expecting that. If this was const UAT RX or like that would be close. Like it would be a type that could be automatically cast into a pointer, but the array type and the pointer type are going to be different. If you want the pointer, you can get a pointer to the first element of the array. Are you trying to figure out why it isn't automatically converted into an argument of this type? Because that could depend on the flags you have passed to C or to GCC. With some configurations, it will allow that. With other configurations, it'll be pedantic about the data types, and you'll have to like ampersand RX buffer bracket 0. That shouldn't be necessary. I would be looking to see if maybe you also have another problem, because that doesn't make sense to me. Anyway. Well, it compiled. What is going... Cloud? Cloud, what are you even doing? What a weird cat. Okay, so we were in libcurl. We're in a lot of libcurl. I know we don't have symbols. Just give me the disassembly. What do you think I want? Is our function pointer still null? What is this address? I'm wondering if this is either a bad function address or maybe there's some kind of wrapper we're ending up with because of the lambda. I'm going to double check the types on that lambda, but then maybe try to step through here and make sure the pointers are right. So write data is a pointer to an std string. Write function, oops. Does this turn into a pointer, or I should really make sure that this is a pointer and not just a callable. Because we don't have any type safety here. Yeah, maybe the problem here is that the compiler actually never gets to see the function signature for this, because curl easy setup just takes a void. Like, it just takes untyped data in whatever format it's already in, which in C code is pretty straightforward. In C++, it can get a little hairier. So maybe what I want is for this to be func. Is there already a type def for this in curl, or am I going to have to make the type too? Curl opt write function. I would like the actual source code for this so I know what that type def is called. Where is curl on this system? Oh, it's right next to free type and x264 and aug and all this other big old stuff that we actually need. No, did I just delete that file? That is completely not what I wanted to do. Undo. Jeez. I was trying to send this directory to Sublime Text, but maybe I don't have that on my right-click menu on this operating system. Can't do that either. Okay, fine. On macOS, you can drag a file to the file or a directory or whatever to the open dialog, and it moves the current directory there, which is handy. Curl. Oh, it's got a little ASCII art. Oh, here's the right callback. Let's try that. That'll at least give me something to examine in the watch window if it doesn't work. So this will be a callable of some sort, which the compiler should then actually convert into the right kind of function pointer here. Let's see if that gets us farther. I still don't know if that was actually the problem, but this seems cleaner anyway. Oh, my lambda is non-static. I don't want a Stack Overflow answer for this exact problem. That's too specific. I want to know more about C++ lambdas. do we control the allocation of the lambda? Yes, yes. Are you talking about just keeping the lambda in a static variable so that its allocation lifetime is long enough? If that's what you're talking about, I don't think I need to solve that problem, because this is blocking. I don't need this to live longer than the function, which is why I'm setting it to 0 down here. To go back to the default. So I'm just going to keep going. Oh, this needs to be rebuilt anyway. I know I can paste paths into dialogues. Okay, this is the root of the problem here. So it is failing to do the conversion. I just need to figure out why. So it can be assigned to an std function. I'm so frustrated by finding like Stack Overflow answers when I just want to find a reference. I don't care about C#. Yes, yes, yes. I know it's a class. Okay. That's the converter I was looking for. I think this cdecl static function. Where's the actual reference for that? Or is that just part of their example? Oh yeah, that's just part of their example. Why? All they're doing is forcing it to cast, right? And cdecl is the default. I shouldn't need to specify this. Well, operator. Is that? Am I just missing a level of reference indirection here? Is curl rate callback already a function? It is. Is this already compatible? Oh, the signature doesn't quite match. This is supposed to be char star buffer. That doesn't quite match the documentation. Size and items. Calls it outstream here, but that's really the user pointer. Maybe that was the problem, that char versus void. Let's see if that compiles. I mean, I might just need to explicitly cast this, but I think the error message is saying, like, it seems to already be trying to cast and just failing. Vince says, write a free function and save yourself the pain. You're all completely missing the point, jeez. The point of this is to solve the problems and learn from them, not to just avoid every problem I can. Jeez. Okay, well, it compiled, it got here. Cool. I think that might have been the problem then. So JSON writer. Yeah, okay, can we step over this? Yeah. Yeah, that worked. See? That was so worthwhile. None of that naysaying, all of you naysayers. This is exactly what I wanted. So now we just need to parse the JSON. See, and that had nothing to do with static allocation or any of the bozos on Stack Overflow. This just had to do with understanding C++11 in the right ways. All right, so now we just need to plug this into the nearest available JSON library, which I think is in libobs. It has this OBS data thing, which is a thin wrapper around Jansen. We could also use Jansen directly, but I don't think we need to go add that extra dependency right now. I think we want like that. I do want to know what the difference is between, I mean, I know we aren't using file here, but I'm curious what they mean by safe. And I'm curious what the error behaviors are here, so let's take a look at this. I don't know why they are worrying about a backup file for reading from a file. I guess they just make a backup anytime it parses. That's weird. Oops. So on failure here, they just log an error and return null, which seems fine. JSON reject duplicates. To keep that in mind. Hey, girl. Are you gonna stand on every key of the keyboard? Whoa. Okay. She is in my lap again. What a lap cat. Oh, this is super nice, actually. Yeah, she really has been affectionate. She got a good bit more affectionate when I was taking care of her after surgery. Maybe there was some trust exchange that happened. I was just noticing in YouTube chat, P says lambdas are standard functions, not function pointers. Yeah, we got there, but they should be convertible into function pointers. But yeah, the original problem we were having with that crash is that by passing it to a function that takes void star, the compiler didn't know that we needed a conversion, nor did it know what type the conversion should be to so yeah. Deflame asks how Boxcat has been. So currently there is no Boxcat. I have disassembled the box. No one needs to be in a cage. But Cloud is doing all right. He is currently sitting on the couch over here, taking a nap. He's been somewhat affectionate. He's also been kind of a jerk. He's also been kind of sweet. He's been a mixture of things lately. And then Adri144N says hi. Hello. Here I am bumping the camera. All right. OBS create data, or data create from JSON. I think we just need to extract the URI out of this JSON. So this is the page we're loading right now. It is the Rust server, so 10.0.0.5:8080, then /ws for WebSocket. And then we just need the URI out of here. It's a kind of silly use for JSON, but I figured I would want to add more things to it in the future, maybe. Oh, this is a good cat. Get string. That returns a string that we'll need to copy again. Lifecycle, OBS data release. Yeah, I'm not going to second guess what I'll put there later. Okay, so that was request WebSocket URI. Let's see if that works as we expect it to. Dylan is asking, did I write the JSON decoding stuff yourself, or is it a library? It's a library called Jansen, which is then being wrapped by libobs. And so I'm using it via that because it's an OBS plugin. But we could also use JSON directly. It's just slightly more kind of just added build dependency stuff. Only very, very slightly, so it's not that big of a deal, but we might as well use this wrapper. All right, so that's looking good. What is our output? Failed to fetch, libcurl, no error. That's a problem. But we got some data. Oh, there's a carriage return at the end of my key. Really? So we do get called in here. We have this buffer, which is URI colon blah blah blah. JSON stir doesn't exist quite yet. Now JSON stir exists and it's empty. We did the copy. Oh, this is that should be not equals. I got the error logic backwards. That explains it. Where did that carriage return come from? We must have forgotten to remove the carriage return from the URL in the beginning. Let's actually do that. Is there already an std string function to trim white space? I kind of doubt it because I don't know that string knows what white space means. That's like a C types thing. I don't know about that. I think I'm more into, we have like is space, right? I'm also completely unfamiliar with the C++ version of C-type because I'm so used to the C version. Like that. Is this... Oh, locale. Okay. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, let's just use that. affectionate cat. I think she's also eating my sleeve. Huh. Yonsei says, surprised that a standard function can be passed into a function accepting a raw function pointer. So this isn't the first time we've even done this on this project. Like, we're already using lambdas in the OBS plugin in pretty much the same way. I just got confused by the data types because in that case, the compiler knows what it's casting into, whereas here the problem was that it was casting to a void. Let me show you. See, right here, we're doing the same thing. These are regular C-style function pointers. In fact, these are in a C structure, but we're assigning them to these lambdas without captures. This is what I was trying to do. I just messed up the data types. Oh yeah, and that's a good call, asking to see if maybe OBS uses some string trimmer that we could borrow. Because this is one of those things where there's a million implementations, but like writing one or adding a new one are both kind of suboptimal if there's already one here. Oh, how does this work? Somebody is trimming trailing white space. This is still searching. Oh, this is not something OBS reads. This is just for some of the developers. Oh well. Never mind. Let's just put that up here. Does that seem pretty straightforward to everyone? We're calling Sterling a few less times too, because it's like putting the function in it, or putting this code in its own function. It's like it can get a little breathing room, and I don't feel like I need to make it quite as compact. I need to close that actually. Okay, rtrim. Hey girl, you want to chew on this too? Wow, the cats really like monofilament. Hey girl. Oh. Hey girl. You're gonna bite my hand off because I don't want you chewing on this stuff, aren't you? Ow. Exactly. Jerk. Just trying to keep you from eating plastic. That's usually how it goes here. I try to keep the cats from eating plastic. The cats bite my face off. Where is my output? I see we're running. I don't see my output. That seems fine. Did my thread die? It loaded my filter. Let's try breakpoint. Not getting any of my debug prints. Well, now I'm hitting the breakpoint though. Huh. Oh, do I have an infinite loop? I think I do have an infinite loop. Oh, yeah, I forgot to break. Duh. That would be better. Thanks, infinite loop. You're the best. I mean, and the infinite loop got a whole thread just for itself. Okay, now that's better. Getting past the infinite loop, printing some stuff. Yeah. Got some character data. We've got the URL, which Visual C lets me click on. That's pretty interesting. Or it underlines it. Doesn't actually go there when I click it, which is probably for the best, but it's weird that it underlines it like it would. What's the point of underlining a URL if clicking it doesn't do anything, and right-clicking it doesn't give me the option to open it either? Anyway, I think we've got all the stuff we came here for. We've got, this is the original URL we read from the file, which is not that useful unless we want to actually open it in a browser, but it exists. This is the challenge response key, which we'll need later. This is the actual WebSocket URL that we open. Great. That is a step in the right direction. Oh, my free web is suggesting Control-Alt or something, like click with a modifier. I'm curious too. Let's see if that changes anything. Where are you, output? Oh, breakpoint. Stop that little breakpoint. All right. Right click doesn't give me anything. Shift click. Oh, control click. Oh geez, control click is opening the UI in here. Why is it not connecting though? Is this running some ancient web browser that doesn't support any of the stuff I'm asking it to do? The formatting here is not quite right. Okay, well I guess it does sort of have a browser, but it's not really up to what I'm doing in this web app here. Maybe this doesn't support WebSockets. That's interesting. My free web says probably IE 11, yeah. Oh, do they just have JavaScript completely disabled? That would make sense. Although it's not acting like JavaScript is disabled, actually, because the navigation wouldn't work. Like, none of this would render if JavaScript was disabled, because it's all React. So They do have some JavaScript. They just must not support everything I'm using, or maybe they're specifically disabling WebSockets. But that would be weird because JavaScript has plenty of other ways to talk to the network. I suspect it's just an old browser. Let's see if this gives me the same behavior as running under whatever old version of IE I have on this machine. No, don't go Microsoft. No. Bleh. Go away. Ah, I hate these splash pages. And closing that closes the whole browser. I don't want your ad crap. All right. They put that even on the new tab page. How do you use a web browser without getting bombarded by propaganda? I do not want to search for that. No, this is failing in a different way. See that? And if JavaScript was just completely disabled, it would look different still. Interesting. Oh, see the graphs? They're kind of rendering, but also really incorrectly. Why are the vertical lines so thick? You think this is Edge? This is Visual Studio, what, 2015? This is probably before Edge. We can see if this works on Edge, because I do have Edge installed. No? Can we beat the propaganda machine? No, apparently not. Oh, no. I don't want to search. Do you recognize what URLs look like? That actually seems better. See, now we're connected as a guest. We aren't disconnected. So whatever this browser is inside Visual Studio, it does support JavaScript, but something is broken that's breaking our network connections, and then something else is breaking the formatting. So yeah, I mean, if it is just IE doesn't support WebSockets, maybe, but yeah, that's probably not the only problem. It's probably a combination of many things here. Yes, I want to close all tabs. What do you think I just told you to do? Oh, the modal dialog box. The OK button is off the edge of the screen. I think I have to press escape to cancel the modal dialog box, then move this up here, and then close it, and then answer the modal. Ah, computers. Let's stop trying to use this interface and go back to this interface. Oh, you think they specifically disabled WebSockets in the Visual Studio browser? All right. So I think all that stuff is done. Now we actually need to start doing the connection. So this reconnect handler gets called anytime we want to start the connection. We do all these things synchronously. That doesn't take very long. But then we actually need to either, if there's a failure, go ahead and call async reconnect to try again later. But if it succeeds, we need to start asynchronously handling that WebSocket client. So let's save this auth key. Maybe we want to save all of these, actually. I was just thinking, oh, should these have the thread underscore prefix because they are very, very owned by the thread. But I think like pretty much everything in here is by default owned by the thread. I think these specifically I wanted, actually that's actually kind of redundant. I wanted to emphasize that this is the curl client for this particular thread, but that was getting into over redundant territory. So that's a little nicer. So it's safe to just keep calling these, even if there's a failure. It'll just mean that we have like an empty front-end URI, and the other one will fail too. But we then want to check for failures both before and after wrapping that in this client get connection, because this will actually parse out the URL and give the WebSocket library a chance to raise objections with this before going into the asynchronous phase of connection. And while those errors will be handy to report, I think we also need to just skip this whole thing if the URL is not valid to avoid reporting redundant errors. Maybe that's how we do this. Okay, this is a connection pointer. It's allocating a new smart pointer here. That's fine. Client.getConnection. What is the data type here? Is this a C string? Where's your docs? docs.websocketpp.org. That's nice. I'll have to remember that. Classes, client. It's not useful. Why are we not finding get connection? Oh, there we go. WebSocket PP client. That can either take a URI pointer or a string. Okay. We can give it a pre-parsed URI with a... There's just part of me that really doesn't like the idea of like, oh, this is a URI. We're going to have wrap it in a smart pointer. We can't just have a decent ownership scheme for it. All right, smart pointers everywhere. That is not the style I prefer when using C++, but some libraries do that a lot. Anyway, that's already a standard string reference. Oh, I hate when I accidentally like wiggle the window and make everything disappear, and then I've got to do it again to make the windows all come back. I don't think I've ever done that on purpose. Okay, WebSocket URI. Let's just call this error. I think that since this is like an auto pointer, I don't think we need to specifically destroy this connection. Yeah, I think that's fine. So this is like calling some kind of cast to Boolean on there to see if it's non-false, to indicate if we have an error. And then we'll just spit it out here. All right. I still kind of want to synchronize, or centralize this async reconnect logic a little bit. Let's make a try reconnect function. Okay, so I think we need to figure out how to add handlers that get invoked when this connection fails, and then call that async reconnect again. And then we'll be close to actually having something that works. I think maybe we want to move these. There's message handler and termination handler. There's a bunch of things here. We can handle ping and pong. What is fail versus close? And I did see terminate, yeah. No, that's internal. Connection fails while the handshake is being processed. I don't know whether we want close or fail or both. Definitely fail, because it seems like this is a case where... I guess I'm wondering if close gets called if it fails during negotiation also. Let's see if we can find out. That sets the fail handler. need to go a little deeper inside this. Come on. So it is one or the other. We should have both. It is kind of tempting to make these callbacks all lambdas. I think that at least the message handler, let's just call this on message. Fail handler and close handler. Void connection handle. I think we can just bind that directly to async reconnect. So if that works, like we should just start getting a stream of WebSocket messages, and we should be able to get it to automatically reconnect if we rerun the server. There's also some stuff we'll need to do right after connecting, like authenticating. But I think we can start that flow in response to getting the challenge message here. I know some people probably do the shake thing on purpose. I just never do it on purpose and don't like it. Like, what typically happens is I have a bunch of windows on 2 monitors here, and I shake something on this monitor, and oh, see, even that was enough to do it. And now everything on all the monitors disappears. I really don't like it. Oh yeah, that needs to be front-end URI. Right, this isn't Rust. I don't need to take a reference explicitly that way. Huh. Then it says that Kitten Academy on YouTube lets you go back 4 hours on the stream. That's weird. I didn't notice that. I've never seen other streams that let you do more than 2 hours. As far as I know, I don't have control over that. No output? Let's step through this with a couple of breakpoints. So auth key, front end, WebSocket, cool. Okay, so we've got a valid connection object, which means that the WebSocket library has parsed the URL and thinks it's fine. Set some handlers. And let's go. Where do we end up next? Nowhere. Really? Nowhere? What is this thread doing right now? Show me the threads. Ooh, this UI is getting really slow. And the OBS window that I'm debugging opened on top of the OBS I'm streaming from. There we go. I can switch order, but I can't actually move it while it's stopped in the debugger. Okay. I might go through and turn off shake. It's just like one of those things where it's part of the default configuration on any Windows 10 machine I sit down at. So, I mean, I know it's been around since way before Windows 10, but like it would mean I just have to keep changing that setting everywhere. I think I probably just need to learn not to do it. Anyway. Whoa, some of these threads are named. That's handy. Hotkey thread. Windows I/O completions. ASIO threads. Where is the WebSocket thread? Did the WebSocket thread die? Did our event loop exit because it thought we didn't have any work to do? I thought we would have... Let's have a breakpoint that catches that. Yeah, let's catch both entry and exit to this thread. Oh. I guess, Morgan, the thing that's frustrating me some is that like when I'm just not seeing the stuff in chat, just like continuing to repost the stuff that I'm not seeing just like makes the problem worse. So I don't know what the solution is. I think maybe people just need to expect less of me while I'm streaming. The chat's great. I'm like not going to be a slave to the chat and be checking it constantly all the time. Where are we? What? Why are we up there? Oh, that's right, because we do this in the constructor once. That's fine. And then we start this thread. Then we try to reconnect. Then... Ooh, then we try to reconnect again. Why are we trying to reconnect this time? Maybe that was a WebSocket fail? Okay, that's weird. Oh, now the debugger is hanging. Thanks, debugger. Maybe I should switch back to WinBag. Do I have WinBag on this system? I downloaded a suitcase. So much to get surprised about when time zones are involved. Can we put this aside? I don't know what that 0% is about. Wow, now my mouse isn't even moving. No. What's going on? I don't know if I'm still streaming because my computer is completely frozen. Ah. The mouse isn't even working now. And I can't see the VU meter moving. Ah. No. Ah. Are we back? Are we back? That was a huge computer hiccup. Yeah, no, I don't know what happened. That wasn't just a blip for you folks. My computer here was completely frozen. It wasn't even responding to mouse input. So I don't know what was wrong with it, but something that was going on around 0% on this installer just decided to lock up the entire machine. One of many reasons why I typically like doing the demos and development on a separate machine from the one doing the streaming, but right now we're doing streaming-related development. So, all right. Yeah, it looks like it's back on YouTube, and I think Twitch is trying. Let me try reloading it there. Twitch says we're live. Twitch is giving me advertisements. Cool. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that glitch. Yeah, so apparently installing debug tools for Windows. Something that this did just slurped up some kind of resource that everything else in the computer ended up needing. Cool. Let me try adding some temporary debugging here. Yeah, sorry about that. Yojik says that's why they put disclaimers to close all programs when installing something. Yeah, right. No, the reason that exists actually is because if the installer is trying to upgrade a DLL that those other programs depend on, then you can end up with a situation where you actually have to postpone that part of the installation until the next reboot. So I'm pretty sure that's why a lot of installers give you that piece of advice. And it's not usually the best applied piece of advice either, because the installers kind of just like spam you with that message regardless of whether or not it's actually going to help in that particular situation. My free web says, why is installing such a process on Windows? I feel like I need to confer a story onto all of you that, like, when something is complicated and you don't know why, there's probably a reason. There's almost always a reason. There are actually a lot of underlying reasons why installing in Windows is really complicated. From like registering components to DLL upgrades to all the Windows subsystems that this integrates with. So I think that there's a lot there that you would find if you dug into what's actually happening. This is still really slow. I'm getting freezes every so often on my end. I don't know if you guys are seeing that. Everybody has their own favorite advice. P in the YouTube chat says that they like to add tracing function calls to the start of methods. Yeah, that is a thing you can do. I'm not just gonna like spam those all over the place for no reason. Anyway, I'm glad some of you like the programming streams. There seems to be just way more backseat driving on the programming streams than on the other streams, which has been bothering me a little bit, but maybe I just need to get over it and tell you all to go piss off when I need to. This is still really slow. We might actually be running out of I/O bandwidth here. I wonder if that's the problem. Because this machine does not have the fastest disks. It does have separate disks for the recordings and for the Windows system. Why? Okay. Yeah, that's supposed to be more like 6 megabytes a second. Yeah, I know the video keeps dying, folks. This feels like it's blocking on some other resource here. Like, it doesn't seem like it's just CPU limited. It seems like there's some contention between processes that blocks it every few seconds. Oh, why is bot controller using so much CPU? This is so annoying. Why was bot controller using so much CPU? If I run bot controller again, is it also going to use that much CPU? Because bot controller should only need a couple percent. If it's using more, that's a bug. That's still using a lot of CPU. Let's figure out why. Well, I've never done performance profiling on a Rust program, so I guess that's something else we get to learn. No. Why are you writing this only for Linux? I mean, Valgrind. Sure. Valgrind is great. It's just very, very non-portable. And that's not what I want a profiler to be based on. Yeah, I mean, maybe the thing to do is use whatever native profiling tools. I just need to figure out how this handles symbols. How does this handle symbols? I don't get a PDB file, do I? Because like PDB is not a very open format. I wouldn't really expect them to write a PDB. So So we've got botcontroller.exe. We've got the rlib. How do debug symbols work with Rust? Well, let's just try doing this without symbols, and then we'll figure out the symbol problem. I just remember seeing a new sampling profiler for Windows that I wanted to try. I don't remember what that one was called. There was a really simple Windows sampling profiler. I've used Very Sleepy. I thought there was something a little newer and better than the Very Sleepy, though. Is this it? Profi? No, that's not it. I don't know if this one is it either. The one I'm thinking of didn't need any binary modification. You just run it on a binary. It samples it like you'd expect. Like gprof, right? But for Windows. I mean, that's like what Very Sleepy does. We could just run Sleepy. But I wanted to see... Oh, hey, Luna. Hey, girl. Was it AQ time? I don't know. I thought it... Yeah, let's just try Sleepy. And we finally got Windbag. Gotta accept the GPL to run the software for some reason. That always bothers me because the GPL does not cover running. It does about distribution. There is no reason to have a click-through GPL. It's just people following the patterns that they're used to following in developing and deploying software. This is getting a little slow. Can I pause this or something? Okay, this is per thread. So we've got 2 threads kind of maxed out here. One of them's doing a bunch of multi-queue stuff. Another one's doing a bunch of atomic loads. This looks like I've just got some kind of bad message bus situation happening. Finished, no symbol info. Well, I know there's no symbol info. Can you just do this without symbols? Can you give me a heat map of addresses? Can you just tell me about the library calls you do have symbols for? Because clearly you've got some. Clearly you've even got some like nice Rust standard library symbols here. See, to even click that button, I have to hold the mouse down for an extra long amount of time because this is so slow. But then it looks like it exits out because it doesn't find symbols. What is that new profiler? It looked super nice. It looked way better than Sleepy. Can I find it on GitHub? Oh, hey, Luna. I haven't seen an installer that forces you to have a license. I've certainly seen installers that make it a little bit non-obvious how to turn off that page. Oh man, clearly I should have just tried this thing as soon as I saw it fly by on Twitter. It wasn't any of these. It's not this one, is it? Like, I just looked at that one. It seems to be... Yeah, this is like instrumented and GUI-less, both of which are the opposite of what I'm looking for. This is also based on ETW, which doesn't seem perfect for this. Hey girl, what are you chewing? You really like monofilament, huh? Hey, you are such a sharp little cat. Ow! Thanks, Luna. I didn't need that blood. Oh, does GNU.org have a stance on the GPL being click-through? Not forbidden, but pointless. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, because the GPL does not cover using software. It covers redistributing it, which just doesn't have any bearing on the installer. Like, you can just give someone the installer without clicking through it. Like, what do they think they're doing? But I don't think people have ever really thought about the click-through licenses. I think it's mostly just been copying what other people do and seeing what you can get away with. Hey, stop eating all this stuff, honey. Don't eat Kapton tape. Girl, don't eat Kapton tape. Florin says Orbit Profiler. Was that it? This looks really startup-y. It might be right, though. Why is it saying demo versus download? Is this not free? Is this not open source? I don't think this is the one I was looking for. Maybe it's worth trying anyway. Ow. Look at all these familiar libraries they're using. Okay. So it's not open source, but let's try it. Okay, bot controller, modules. This looks like the kind of profiler that's going to use a lot of the system's resources on its own. Also, this doesn't seem to do anything. Start, stop. Oh, it's just slow. It's just really slow, and now it crashed. We could debug it. I feel like we got really close with Very Sleepy, though. It was showing us the symbols. I just couldn't get it to record or trace. Man, these cat injuries are always way more painful than it seems like they should be. Oh, Joe says Orbit is open source and BSD licensed. Okay, I guess I just missed that part. And then Mikhail says MTuner was on Hacker News recently. Let's see if that was familiar. I don't really read Hacker News, but that might have been what catapulted it onto Twitter. And this is not exiting. That's cool. I didn't really need the computer for anything, right? This is all so much why I like to do the streaming on a separate physical machine when I can. Millen Dumley is asking if I just got a notification from Twitch. I have no idea. I mean, not that I noticed apparently, but I'd have to go check whatever devices I receive notifications on. mtuner. Memory profiler. Hey, Luna, just like stop that, seriously. I need to find all these little bits of things that she wants to chew on and throw them away. And the other one was orbit profiler. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think this is the one I was thinking of. Okay, orbit. It's just not working amazingly well for me right now, but that's cool. Maybe we can make it work. I think I might try sleepy one more time. Okay, bot controller. Oh, girl, that was a bolt you just threw on my iPad. Thank you. Man, we're allocating all these cells. It'd be really cool to just profile all. Can we do that? Why does this part not work? This is in seconds. Let's run it for like 2 seconds. It just comes back and says finished, no symbol info. I guess I just don't understand why it has enough symbols to show us this stuff here, but not to do the next step. This isn't going to help, right? This is just downloading the Microsoft symbols for Windows. So slow. Is there just something in general that is slow about this machine now for some reason? Have I just incurred some kind of penalty on every system-wide memory allocation? Oh. Nobody has anything specifically on this, right? Codex L. Oh, which target am I using? Oh, okay, so I am using the MSBC target, which makes sense. Why am I not getting a PDB file then? Ah! Oh, that's great. So Rust is actually generating PDBs. Oh, that's so cool. Oh, but so it's using the MSVC toolchain, so... Oh, well, how do I ask RustUp what toolchain I'm using? Okay, so I am using MSVC toolchain. Rust MSVC PDB generation. Am I just missing where these files are? Oh, look at that. Target/debug. Oh. Okay, let's see if I can just point Sleepy at those files. I don't know why part of Sleepy knew where those were and part of it didn't, but sure. It's not still running, is it? Cargo run. Refresh. There we go. Bot controller. Options. Yeah. Symbols. So those are in target debug build and target debug depths. Will it search this recursively? Wow, this is using Wine's PDB parser. I guess that gave them the info they needed more so than debug help.dll. This is just like only looking for GUI events every couple of seconds. Didn't this have plus and minus buttons on it previously? How do I not have the ability to edit any of this? Yeah, so I know that Very Sleepy is getting some of the symbols, but not all the symbols. Anyway, right now I'm just fighting with this UI. Why is it so slow? Let's go back to trying Orbit, or whatever that one was called. Those look like the same symbols we were finding in Very Sleepy. I mean, Very Sleepy must have been using the default PDB path in, like, maybe in debug help, or maybe that's in the exe somewhere, but... And then it just wouldn't load it for the next step. That's pretty weird. Do I have to reload the PDB now? It feels like maybe it's just not associating the PDB and this process. Press X once, wait for it to respond. Is that, Jan says, kill a Visual Studio debugging session? Why? Why would that matter? I mean, I can do it. I'm not using this, but that's should be completely separate. This is a different process. I think that missed my X key. Let's press that again. It doesn't seem like that's doing anything. Meh. Well, we could try that other debugger that that article had some success with. I just wanted to try this one first. Maybe this will work better if I get it to launch the process. Let's give that a shot. Okay, so I've got an empty window over here. Got some more modules. Is it gonna load? Not doing a lot of loading so far. Oh, pause at entry point, okay. I don't think I wanted to do that though. How do I unpause it? I don't see how you resume that. Let's try that again. Cancel that. Launch this. Now it's running normally. Do I have to open the PDB now? See, this is saying PDB size 0 bytes. And that replaced this module list. Yeah, I don't think that's going to let us associate these freely. That's frustrating. Let's try a different profiler. Alright, what was that other one? It was the one that AMD used to have. CodeXL. APUs? Yeah, let's try this thing out. Code Excel. Oh, interesting. Emily mentions that the Git repo for Very Sleepy might have some changes that improve this. Oh, interesting. And Jan says that it slows down Windows when an application doesn't react to window events. Are you sure? Like in general, not just interactions with that window? I'd like to see a reference for that, because that surprises me greatly. Like, there are certainly plenty of things that a debugged Windows application can do to mess with your GUI experience, but I didn't see any signs of that actually happening at the moment. Code Excel is stretchable. Stretchable. Yeah. Oh, are you going to install a different version of Winbag? Maybe I'll have several copies of Winbag by the time we're done with today. You gonna ask me to agree to the GPL too? No, just the MIT license. Sure. That doesn't really mean anything here either. Yep. So anyway, there were a couple things we were debugging here. I wanted to see why the bot controller is using up so much CPU, and I wanted to see why the WebSocket connection seems to be dying before it's getting to a reasonable point where it can report an error or success.